Hello, I am Peter Blackwood, coordinator of the Uniting Church Icon Schools, and I've been writing an icon of Albert Schweitzer, theologian, musician and medical missionary. Schweitzer was a renowned exponent of J.S. Bach, and he was an organist, so the music in this video is Albert Schweitzer playing the music of J.S. Bach on the organ. But let me begin with a short biography written by William Emerson. He writes, Albert Schweitzer, 1875 to 1965, one of the best-known missionaries of the 20th century, was born in Kaisberg, Alsace. He was extraordinarily gifted, intellectually brilliant and blessed with a robust constitution. His biography, George Seaver, called him probably the most gifted genius of our age. By the age of 30, he had achieved distinction in the two separate fields of music and theology. He was an authority on the life and works of J.S. Bach, a renowned organist, expert on organ building, and a significant figure in the organ revival in the early 20th century. In theology, he is best remembered for his book The Quest of the Historical Jesus, published in 1906, one of the most influential theological books of the 20th century. Thereafter, the apocalyptic element in the gospel, the sense of crisis, of judgment, and the impending end of the world, had to be taken seriously. No longer could Christians be content with an image of Jesus as a civilized man of the 19th or 20th century, and never again could preachers and scholars separate the teachings of Jesus from Jesus himself. In 1906, Schweitzer began studying medicine, and in 1913 he gave up his academic career as a theologian to devote himself to the care of the sick and to missionary activities at Lambaréné in French Equatorial Africa. For various reasons, he wanted to put the religion of love, the essential element in Christianity, into practice rather than talk about it. The prime reason for going to Africa, he explained in his reminiscences, on the edge of the primeval forest, published in 1922, was to do penance for the wrongs that Africans had suffered at the hands of Europeans, especially the introduction of disease and the slave trade. Schweitzer believed that Europeans, like the rich man Dives in the biblical parable, had sinned against the people of Africa, the poor man at their gate, in that they had accepted the advantages of medical science and technology without putting them into the poor man's place. Schweitzer advocated an ethic based on reverence for life, including animal and plant life. For Schweitzer, it was good to maintain life and to further life. It was bad to damage and destroy life. Only by means of reverence for life, in Schweitzer's view, can we establish spiritual and humane relationships with all living creatures. A person is ethical when life is considered sacred, and when that person devotes him or herself fully to those who in need of help. Even as a child, he was gripped by the sacredness of life. His nighttime prayer was, O Heavenly Father, protect and bless all things that have breath, guard them from all evil, and let them sleep in peace. Schweitzer received numerous awards, including the Nobel Peace Prize in 1953. In putting into practice reverence for life, he became a symbol throughout the world of human dignity and service, and an example of the power of compassion in a time of genocide and mass hatred. Well, the main features of the cartoon have been traced onto the panel, and gone over with yellow ochre and water, and then egg tempera added, and now there's a bit of Mars Black added as well to firm up this image in sketch form. That temple isn't quite right. Let's wipe it out with some wet paper and correct the line of the forehead and the hair. The model is a painting by Steve Simon, and I like it for its colour, and also that Schweitzer is in his surgery in Africa. I've taken out the arm and the stethoscope. For the skin tone membrane, I'm mixing yellow ochre with a little Ercolano red and also a very little bit of terra vert, and that will form the overpainting on the face. The first couple of coats have gone on. Very dry brush, so it dries very quickly. And now, using that basic mixture, putting some aside and adding some titanium white so that we can start on the highlights. Now all this is done in 4 times the normal speed so that it doesn't get too tedious. And now for a lot more titanium white added to the basic flesh colour mixture. Now throughout all of this I've been using a number 3 Kolinsky brush. needing to reinforce some of the shaded sections of the face, so using the basic membrane paint and adding some of that yellow and black to go back to repaint some of the shaded areas. The camera wasn't running when I was doing these highlights, the eyes, the brows, accentuating some of the other features like the nose and the ear. I'm going back now to work on the white, that's titanium white, but the shaded bits of the white, to knock it back, this raw umber green is effective for making the whites look less dazzled. The yellow and Mars black is forming the shading, or the basis for the hair and the moustache. He's got white hair, but you can't just use white, it would look really silly. So to get the shadows that will occur in moustaches, beards and hair, even though it's quite white hair, there needs to be shading in there, so the shading goes in first. Now for the first bits of white in the moustache and the hair, it is pure white, but it's quite dilute so that we can still see shading behind. Lovely doing these swirls with the lovely round Kolinsky brush. It's very well suited for leaning on the bristle and making it go fat and then thin again. Now with a very fine Kolinsky brush, number 1, and a good solid opaque titanium white. Again with the yellow ochre and Mars black, putting in the outlines for the garments and the shading. Both of these garments are white, and I was wondering just how to distinguish so that we make them look like two different bits of cloth. The shirt is one kind of cloth and the apron is another. In Steve Simon's painting, it's not really all that obvious. He certainly has yellow background or shading for both of them. I decided to go for a yellow shading, for which I use golden ochre. It's the same hue as yellow ochre, but it is more translucent. To do that for the shirt, and some titanium grey, quite diluted titanium grey on the apron, but then using the same titanium white as the white, but because of the undercoating, the underpaint, they look quite distinct in form, in type of material. I think it worked. Now for that grey underpainting. Just using titanium white here. I started on the collar and it was a bit more opaque, so I made it a little more dilute for the next sections. I'm using the back with the number 3 Kolinsky brush. Wanted to go more translucent for this coat so that we could get more gradation. We've already got some gradation with the yellow and black as the shading underneath, and the yellow on top is just undercoat, so we're not going to see that at all. This, for the most part, this diluted titanium white is giving a bit more fold to the garment. White then forms the final highlight and tells the viewer that this is a white garment. using a flat Kolinsky brush with quite a dilute mixture of white to give a glaze over all the white garments. Now for the bow tie. Mars black. He always wore a black bow tie. There's some photos of him with shirt sleeves and no tie. Nearly always wearing a black tie. And some titanium white to make the black look more interesting. Fairly translucent at this stage, but then quite strong. A few strong highlights to catch the eye. The edging of the apron and the collar and shirt front need a little bit of definition. So back to where we started, the yellow ochre and Mars black. For the background, I've chosen to use a mixture of unbleached titanium, which is a low chroma yellow, but with very good coverage, and added a tiny bit of ultramarine blue. It makes for a gentle shade of green. And I'm applying it with a large squirrel mop brush. Now for the halo and the inevitable blob of paint that now has to be mopped up and repaired. And now for the inscription. Albert Schweitzer. Thank you for watching this video. Please leave a comment below, perhaps a question. I appreciate hearing from people who are interested in this ancient and sacred craft of iconography, and I hope to see you next time.